In the quiet village of Mulul, nestled between emerald hills and whispering baobab trees, a mysterious prophecy loomed over the Moinza family. It was said that one of the twins born to Mama Leia would cause great shame and great wonder, both. In equal measure, Mama Leia gave birth to two strong boys, Chisha and Kunda. They were inseparable as children, always sharing food, secrets, and even dreams. But as they grew older, their paths diverged. Chisha, the elder by minutes, was noble, thoughtful, and destined to lead. Kunda was more reckless, always chasing riddles and disguises in stories. When they both came of age, it became clear that Kunda had no interest in choosing a bride the traditional way. In a village where marriages were arranged and traditions sacred, he shocked his family when he refused the matchmaker's suggestions. "I want to marry a woman who loves me, not a dowry," he insisted. But that wasn't the only thing troubling him. One rainy night, Kunda overheard his uncle whispering about an ancient test. A man could only find his true wife if he could live among women unnoticed and see them unfiltered without the pride, fear, or performance they often put on for men. Kunda became obsessed with the idea. Without telling anyone, he hatched a plan to disguise himself as a woman and live among the village maidens during the annual harvest preparations. As the drums of the harvest festival echoed in the distance, Kunda shaved his face, wrapped his chest in cloth, and chose the name Muaka. The scandal was about to begin, and no one, not even Kunda, would be prepared for what fate had in store. Disguised in colorful chai-tenj fabric, with braided extensions and kohl darkening his eyes, Kunda became Muika, a shy, soft-spoken orphan girl from the northern border of the village. It practiced the voice, the walk, even the slight downward gaze women often adopted around elders. By dawn, he joined the other maidens at the riverbank, balancing a clay pot of water on his head and trying not to wobble. The girls welcomed Muaka warmly. The village was preparing for the great harvest festival, where maidens would sing, dance, and display their skills in cooking, weaving, and storytelling. Kunda had hoped to quietly observe the girls, find a genuine soul he could love, and then reveal his identity. But he didn't expect to find comfort in the sisterhood. For the first time, he saw what women said when no men were watching. He heard their laughter, their tears, their fears of loveless marriages, and secret desires for freedom. It shook him. Among the girls was a spirited beauty named Tamara. She was bold, outspoken, and clever. She teased Muka endlessly, calling her clumsy and secretive. But she also protected her, defended her against gossip, and soon their friendship bloomed. Like wild hibiscus in rainy season, Kunda found himself drawn to Tamara, not just as a woman but as a friend. A mirror, a challenge. Back at home, Chisha, his twin brother, noticed his absence but assumed Kunda had gone to his usual hiding spots. He never suspected his brother was now sleeping on straw mats in the maiden's hut, just a few compounds away. But the danger was growing. Kunda had crossed into sacred space where no man should step without consequence. One misstep, one slip of the tongue, and the entire village could turn on him. The night of the fire circle arrived. It was a sacred night when maidens gathered around the village flame to share stories passed from mother to daughter. Elder women sat in a wide circle while the younger girls listened, laughed, and whispered dreams into the fire. Mueka Kanu sat among them, hands folded demurely, sweat trickling down his back. He had survived the past 2 weeks by being quiet, by mimicking every gesture and syllable. But tonight was different. Each girl was expected to share a story, something personal, something true. When it was Muaka's turn, Kunda hesitated. All eyes turned to him. Tamara, seated beside him, squeezed his hand gently. "Speak, sister," she whispered. With his heart pounding like village drums, Kunda began a tale about two brothers who loved each other dearly, but were torn apart by a secret. His voice cracked. The older women clapped and praised his vulnerability, thinking it was just poetic storytelling. But Tamara stared at him strangely, her eyes narrowing. After the fire was put out, Tamara followed Moika into the dark. "You speak like a man in a woman's skin," she said, voice soft but sharp. Kunda froze. Was she joking? Testing him? Or had she guessed? But Tamara only smiled mysteriously and walked away. The tension didn't fade. Every moment now felt like walking on cracked calabash. The girls bathed together. They changed clothes without shame. Kunda had perfected the art of turning away, of pretending. But his guilt was growing heavier than any disguise. Worse, Chisha had seen Moika from afar at the market, her eyes downcast, her laughter familiar. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he found himself drawn to her. The line between brotherhood and betrayal was beginning to blur. Chisha had always believed in reason. As the village's future leader, he had been trained to see through illusion, to listen more than he spoke. But when he first laid eyes on Moaka by the market well, head scarf falling slightly, eyes darting like frightened doves, he felt something strange stir within him. It wasn't just attraction, it was a pull, a haunting familiarity, like a song from childhood echoing. In a different key, he asked his friend, "Who is that girl who walks like she carries stories in her bones?" The friend laughed. "That is Moka, the quiet one." Tamara's shadow. Chisha couldn't stop watching her. He timed his trips to the marketplace when he thought she might be there. He noticed how she never met his gaze for long, how her hands trembled slightly when he was near. Meanwhile, Kunda was losing control. Each encounter with Chisha chipped at his resolve. His brother had always looked at him with admiration and trust. But now, disguised as Moika, he saw Chisha's eyes. Linger too long, his words softened too much. It felt like a cruel trick of fate. The woman he had pretended to be was slowly winning his brother's heart. Tamara noticed it too. One night, while the maidens plucked mangoes beneath the stars, she whispered, "You know he watches you, don't you?" Chisha, our Prince Kunda, nodded silently, heart pounding. "Are you afraid he might love you?" she asked. Kunda's throat tightened. "I'm afraid he might not." That night, while everyone slept, Kunda crept away to the river, staring at his reflection in the moonlit water. Man in a woman's skin, a brother loved by his own brother. The prophecy spoken at his birth began to whisper back. He will bring both shame and wonder to this house. The day of the festival of union arrived. A grand celebration, where young men publicly declared their interest in maidens by offering gifts before the entire village. The air smelled of roasted maize and marula wine. Drums echoed across the hills, and the maidens, dressed in their finest chitinge patterns, danced with elegance and laughter. Moika stood stiffly among them, forced to smile, heart in knots. Kunda had planned to leave before the festival, but something, perhaps curiosity or pride, made him stay. And then it happened. Chisha stepped forward, dressed in ceremonial robes of blue and silver. The villagers cheered, expecting him to approach one of the more prominent daughters of the elders. But to everyone's shock, he turned to Muaka. "I have watched you, Muaka," Chisha said with a deep voice and a hopeful smile. "You move with mystery and speak like the moonlight. I offer you this bracelet, and I ask, will you allow me to know your heart better?" Gasps filled the air. Even Tamara froze. Kunda's breath caught in his throat. His brother was proposing courtship to him. He wanted to scream, to laugh, to run. But surrounded by the crowd and bound in the disguise he had chosen, he found himself nodding, slowly, carefully. The cheers that erupted felt like thunder in his soul. Tamara was the first to pull him aside. "After the ceremony, you fool," she whispered, "you lied to all of us." Kunda's eyes widened, but she continued, "I don't know who you are, but I know what you're not. And if you go through with this, it won't be just your Shamiddle, be all of ours." Kunda said nothing. His tongue felt like stone. That night he lay awake, staring at the moon, knowing he had walked into a trap of his own making and dragged love into it. The days that followed blurred into a parade of rituals and excitement. Chisha, proud and sincere, began the official bride price negotiations with the elders. Even Mama Leia, their mother, was thrilled at the prospect of her son finding such a modest and graceful bride in Moka. Kunda, now buried deeper in his lie, found himself preparing for his own marriage. Each day felt like drowning slowly, clothed in beauty and shame. Tamara kept her distance. Her eyes said more than her lips dared. She knew something wasn't right. But she hadn't told anyone yet. Kunda feared the moment she would. Worse, part of him wanted her to stop this madness. But every time Chisha looked at him with love and certainty, something inside Kunda broke again. Meanwhile, strange dreams tormented Kunda. In one, he stood before a mirror that reflected only Chisha's face. In another, he walked into a wedding, but couldn't see his own reflection in the water jar. The ancestors perhaps were warning him, or laughing. On the third night after the proposal, Kunda visited the elder's hut disguised as Muka, as required by custom. The oldest among them, Elder Munango, studied him for a long time, then said, "You hold a heavy silence, child. Marriage opens the heart. Is yours ready?" Kunda forced a smile. "Yes, Elder." But the cracks were widening. Word began to spread. Through the market, women rumors about the strange softness of Moika's voice when she was alone. How she never bathed in the river when others did. How she flinched when touched. The questions multiplied. Still, Chisha remained blind. He was writing love poems by the fireside and dreaming of a wedding that would make history, a union of mystery and fate. But fate was sharpening its knife. Tamara could no longer bear the silence. She had watched her friend know, the impostor slip deeper into a pit of lies. While the other maidens giggled over the coming wedding, Tamara watched Muka shrink behind painted eyes and wrapped cloth. She didn't know the full truth, but her instinct screamed. This was not a woman. Whatever game Kunda was playing, it had gone too far. Late one evening, she cornered him. In the granary hut, no one else was near. The shadows danced from the torchlight as she stepped forward, fierce and unblinking. "Tell me what you are," she hissed. "Are you some spirit? Cursed soul? Or just a coward?" Kunda sighed. Then for the first time, he removed the scarf from his head, letting the braid extensions fall. Das. His voice dropped his real voice. "I am Kunda, Chisha's brother." Tamara gasped, stepping back in horror. She looked like she had been slapped by a ghost. "You, are marrying your own brother." "I never meant to," he said quickly. "I only wanted to find a woman who loved honestly. I thought I could walk among you, learn the truth behind the veil. I never imagined." Heart pounded. "Do you know what this will do to your family? Kuchia, to your mother?" "I know," Kunda whispered, eyes full of pain. "But I don't know how to undo it." Tamara stepped forward again, anger flashing. "Then I'll undo it for you. You have until the wedding drums begin. If you haven't told the truth by, then I will." She stormed out, leaving Kunda alone in the darkness. Outside the village prepared for a celebration. But inside the heart of the liar groom, a storm was building louder than drums, more dangerous than fire. The sun rose with brilliance that day, as if the heavens were mocking the darkness festering beneath. The village of Mualu was dressed. In song and color, drums throbbed through the air, mingling with ululations and the scent of roasted goat. The wedding day had arrived. Chisha stood tall, handsome in his ceremonial robe, pride radiating from him like sunlight on the river. His bride, Moika Kunda, in disguise, was being adorned in a bridal hut nearby, layered in beads and silks. Every strand added to the weight. On Kunda's chest, Tamara had not spoken to him since the night in the granary, but her silence was sharp. Her eyes, when they met his, burned with betrayal and disgust. Mama Leia bustled around with tears of joy, unaware that both her sons stood. On either side of a cliff, Chisha had written his vows himself. He spoke to the elders that morning of Moika's mystery, her gentleness, her quiet strength. "She is the river I did not know I was thirsting for," he said. The crowd clapped. Kunda nearly vowed. As the hour approached, Kunda sat alone in the bridal hut, trembling. His reflection in the mirror was a stranger, braided, powdered, lip-stained. He remembered how this had begun a foolish plan to observe women, to find love untainted by tradition. Now, he was the heart of a scandal that could destroy his brother, his family, and himself. Outside, the drums signaled that the groom was approaching. Tamara burst into the hut. Her voice was low but firm. "This is your last moment, Kunda. Tell the truth, or I will." Kunda looked up at her with tears brimming. He'll never forgive me. Tamar's voice cracked. Then don't let him marry you. A decision had to be made, and time had run out. The wedding drums grew louder. The crowd gathered in a wide half-circle at the ceremonial grounds, singing praise songs and throwing flower petals. Chisha stood, proudly beneath the marriage arch, a carved wooden structure draped in palm leaves and cowrie shells. His heart thudded not with nerves but with joy. He believed fate had rewarded him with the perfect bride, mysterious, kind, and true. The maidens led Muka forward, veiled and dressed in royal red, her face hidden beneath sheer lace. Kunda's legs barely carried him. He was walking toward his own brother, toward a lie that had gone too far. The elder priest stepped forward. Who gives this bride in joy and truth? Mama Leia raised her hands. I do. The priest turned. To Chisha and you, son of the soil, do you accept her as your heart's keeper? I do, Chisha replied. The priest then looked to the bride. And you, Moika, do you accept this man? No? The voice rang like thunder, sharp and male. The veil flew off. The crowd gasped, pulling back in disbelief as Kunda stood. Revealed in full, I cannot marry him, 'cause I am not Muwaka. I am Kunda, his brother. A deadly silence fell. Chisha blinked, frozen. Kunda. The elder priest stumbled back. Mama Leia let out a sharp cry. Women covered their mouths. Children whispered in confusion. Kunda fell to his knees. I never meant to hurt anyone. I wanted to understand love without titles, without masks. But I wore a mask so well, I forgot who I was. Chisha's face slowly twisted from confusion to horror, to something colder. Tamara stepped forward, eyes glistening. He told me. I warned him. But none of us were prepared for this. And just like that, the wedding turned into a storm. The village erupted into chaos. Some elders shouted curses. Others tried to calm the crowd. Mama Leia collapsed in sobs, her two sons at the center of the greatest scandal Mulu had ever known. Kunda remained kneeling, unmoving, ashamed beyond words. Women who had bathed beside him screamed in horror and betrayal. The young men looked to Chisha for direction, but Chisha was silent, his face stone, his eyes empty. The elder priest took control. This is a violation of sacred trust. Disguise, deceit, and the mocking of holy rites. By our traditions there must be judgment. Many demanded banishment. Some called for public punishment, but Elder Munango raised his hand. We shall not spill blood over foolishness, but there must be consequence. Kunda was to be exiled. He would be given 1 day to gather his things and leave the village indefinitely. He could not speak to Tamara, to Chisha, or even to his mother. He was to vanish as if he had never been born. That night, the village fires burned low. Chisha stood alone near the river, tears trailing silently down his face. He was my brother, he whispered, and he tried to marry me.
The wound
Was too deep to name. He had loved someone who did not exist. The one who had hurt him most was the one he trusted most. Tamara stood outside her hut, watching the stars in silence. Her heart was torn. Kunda had betrayed them all, but somewhere beneath that betrayal, she had seen something rare. A man who truly listened, who truly wanted love to be real. Kunda packed his things as the sky turned pale, took one last look at the village's home. His shaman walked into exile. Carrying a heart heavier than the sandals on his feet, Kunda wandered for years, from one dusty village to the next, always keeping his name hidden. Some days he worked as a builder, other days as a storyteller. But no matter where he went, the memory of Mualul clung to him like red dust, his mother's tears. Chisha's face when the truth shattered, and the sound of the villagers gasping as the veil fell. He stopped pretending. No more disguises. No more masks. In one northern village, he taught young girls how to defend themselves with words. In another, he helped build a school where girls and boys learned side by side. Slowly, he began to rebuild his soul, brick by brick. Yet, in the quiet of night, he always remembered Tamara. Meanwhile, Back in Mulul, the village never forgot. Chisha refused to marry, despite many offers. He took over his father's role and ruled justly, but something inside him had hardened. The villagers called him the Silent Chief. He never spoke of the wedding, never mentioned Muwaka again. Tamara, too, remained unmarried. She became a midwife and a keeper of village stories. When young girls gossiped, she would say gently, "Sometimes love wears the wrong face. But truth always finds its mirror." Then, after 7 full rainy seasons, a stranger arrived in Mulul. Older, bearded, sun-darkened, with quiet eyes and a weathered satchel. The children ran to greet him, and the elders squinted. Sensing something familiar, he walked straight to the edge of the river, where he had once stared at his reflection and waited. Word reached Chisha. "There's a traveler by the water. He looks like your brother." Chisha said nothing, but his hands trembled. Tamara, standing near her garden, already knew. Some wounds never heal, but sometimes time teaches them how to breathe again. The village gathered quietly, unsure what would unfold. Some elders warned Chisha not to go. Others urged peace. But Chisha, now older and grayer, stood from his mat at dawn and walked to the river barefoot like he used to when they were boys. Kunda was already there, kneeling beside the water as if asking forgiveness from the very land. When he saw his brother approach, he stood slowly. For a long moment, they said nothing. Only the river spoke, soft and steady, as if it had been waiting for this reunion. "I thought you were dead," Chisha said, voice like rusted iron. "I was," Kunda replied, "not in body, but in soul." Chisha's jaw clenched. "You broke something in me." "I broke something in both of us," Kunda said. "I wanted to find truth, but I became a lie. And yet, even lies come from something real. I loved the woman you saw in me. I only never meant for her to be yours." The silence that followed was heavy but not hostile. Kunda pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was the bracelet Chisha had offered Muka all those years ago. "I kept it," he said. "Not because I deserved it, but because I couldn't. Forget the way you looked at me. You loved without knowing. I betrayed you without meaning to." Chisha took the bracelet. His fingers trembled. Then, after a long breath, he reached out not with anger, but with the hand of a brother. "I cannot forget," he said, "but maybe I can forgive." Behind them, Tamara watched from a distance, her eyes wet but calm. 2 brothers, once torn apart by secrets, now stood side by side. The river between them finally quiet, and somewhere in the hills, the old prophecy whispered its final line. What was shame became wonder, and what was broken, reborn.